Hey guys, I'm Chewy Mew, and welcome to my channel, but more specifically, welcome back to another Chewy Mew review, where today I'm going to be taking a look at another Spider-Man figure from the trilogy, and that is the Hasbro re-release of the Spider-Man 2 Super Posable figure. So this being the Hasbro version, this is from the Sandman Build-A-Figure wave, because I didn't like the way they looked, and then a few months later, they re-released 6-inch scale versions of some of the figures. And, I'm glad I have this one. I don't have the, this version in the Toy Biz version, which is the colors, where the colors look like this guy. My only issue with the paint is that the red doesn't look bad. If you look at the face there, the face looks good still, but the paint, some of the paint on mine is faded. There's some of the silver's missing. There's some paint coming off. The spider's missing paint too. Like mine is missing some paint here and there, but that's because playing with it. And also mine, where it has the ball joint, mine is broken, so you can't move that ball joint up here anymore. You still get a lot of range of motion with the rest of the stuff they give you, but you don't get that ball joint anymore, which that kind of sucks. But that means I had a lot of fun with it as a kid. You get the fingers here, but the fingers are pretty loose. I never had the Toy Biz version, and I really wanted to get that one, which I always tried to find the one as a kid, but I could never find it in stores, and I've seen it on eBay for a lot of money, like $60 and up. I've seen it I've seen people buy it for like $200 brand new in packaging, and I wouldn't pay $200 for a figure unless I had $200 to spend, Like if I just had $200 to just, throw away buying a figure, to me that's, I personally would probably never do that unless I was like rich. Unless I got like really rich, then I would do it, but as like 20-year-old, I'm not going to do that. See, it's missing some paint here on the shoulders and stuff. Some paint's coming off there. On the spider here, the spider, that's a very, very awesome looking spider. That looks absolutely nothing like the spider does in Spider-Man 2 and 3, but here's what the spider looks like in the trilogy. The spider looks absolutely nothing like it, but I'm really, really glad that Toy Biz, this being a Toy Biz mold, a reused Toy Biz mold, that they decided to make some completely unique spider. To me, that looks really, really cool. How and also when you move it, the joints would show you more. Like this one, when you would move the joint here, you would get to see more of the spider. Fortunately, mine breaking, that's no longer a thing that can be seen, unfortunately. There's a spider missing some paint there. Spider's missing some paint. Very good looking overall, I will say. You can see the legs there. You can see the boots. The boots are also missing some paint. This figure's missing, actually, before I started this review, I didn't think it was missing a lot of paint, but it actually is. Playing with this, some paint's chipping off. These ankle joints were really, really loose. So I put some glue dots, and they kind of move on their own now, but they were really loose that when you hold the figure and you moved, and if you would hold it by the feet, it would just like start going back like that. Come on, focus. Like the knees are also kind of loose. The waist is a little bit loose. This joint here was really, really crazy loose. Until playing it with one day, I think I turned this joint, I turned it way too sharp, and that part broke off. And my mom and I, we tried fixing it, and there was like no solution, so we ended up having to super glue it. I tried a bunch of different methods. We cut open the figure here. This one, with how much I played with it, was kind of easy to open up. Like you see here, when you move these joints, it's hard to tell, but in here, there's a little bit of plastic. It won't focus anymore. The camera gave up. Either way, there was up here on the shoulders up here, the joints would it would open up a little bit, so we opened it up, and then we tried seeing if there was a way we could fix that, and there wasn't really any way to fix that, so my mom just ended up super gluing it together. Maybe now I might go back and try reopening it, since I have like a experience fixing joints that are broken and stuff and replacing arms and things. I might try going back, opening it up, and see if I can fix that somehow. I might, maybe, but I wouldn't want to risk breaking this figure, so I might not in the end. But, very good looking figure. You can really see how Toy Biz went quite a long way, where this figure has all this crazy armpit joints, shoulder joints, butterfly joints, whatever you want to call them. All having all those joints, and the shoulder joints, when you look at the figure, it doesn't look disproportionate. Like, the shoulders don't look huge, like on Like this one Spider-Man figure I have here, this guy, you can see the shoulder joints. When they're posed, you can't really tell, but like if we straighten out his arm, you can see how big the shoulder joint looks compared to his. Like his looks much more like kind of like a human shoulder, like it fits the rest of the arm, whereas this guy, it looks a little too big. The shoulder looks a little bit too big. Got him displayed in that pose there. Set him back on my shelf. But yeah, so that shows you how Toy Biz went a long way. That figure was released in 2003. This one being released in 2004. You know, the original version, which Hasbro didn't modify this mold. They just repainted this. That looks, the blue looks black now. In the camera, it looked kind of black. In post, when I edit the footage, I'm going to try making it, try to make everything look closer to like its original color. Like, I'm going to make my display base look actually white instead of looking kind of bluish like it does. Gotta keep getting notifications there. I forgot to turn down my volume. I'll have to do that after this review. Pretty much my only complaint with this, other than the color being kind of funky, to me, I can kind of accept it because, Hasbro doesn't want to, copy Toy Biz exactly, is that he's got like this little hump here, like a little bit of bump. Like from the side, it's not too obvious, but it just looks a little bit funky. Like the torso doesn't look like it's completely, completely flat. It looks, I don't know, to me that looks a little bit weird, Like you have this part that looks normal and the chest looks normal, but that part to me just looks a little bit weird, when you're like, posing him around and like getting him in positions and stuff, like just a generic pose here, for example, like you get in some kind of pose. I mean, it's still kind of noticeable, but at the end of the day, well, it's still great figure, but well, that's some kind of complaint there. But that's like just like one nitpick. I don't really have many nitpicks about it. Also, my version, when I got it, the legs were kind of stuck like that. The legs were always kind of stuck in that position. So what I did was, even as a kid I was kind of crazy. I took the leg joints here, and you can maybe see a little bit, might be hard to tell. You can see there's like, I sanded down these joints a little bit. I sanded down the plastic inside here too. Sanded it down a little bit, like using like a file. I sanded it a little bit so that his legs would go in a little bit more like this. Because on the original one, his legs were always stuck like that, and so, or like they were always, like they look like this now, but they were always kind of stuck a little bit weird. It always looked a little bit funky. It always kind of bugged me, so I kind of sanded them down, like maybe like a couple years after I got it, but I sanded them down because it bugged me. Like a lot of times I like just having my figure standing up straight and like, like a default position, kind of standing up normal, and the legs were always a little bit too spread for my liking. I'm a pretty weird kid, but yeah, so love this figure still. I kind of like that I don't have the Toy Biz version. I really would like to have the Toy Biz version, but in a way, I kind of like that I don't have it, so that I can have like, the Spider-Man 2 version, and then the Spider-Man 3 version, which to me I like that kind of, to me that's kind of cool. Where, oh, that's weird. Like the way the focus is, that's kind of funky. But yeah, I just like that I have like two different versions, or like two separate kinds of figures. This being the Spin Kick Spider-Man. That's like my main posable Spider-Man 2 figure, whereas this is my Spider-Man 3 posable figure, which this is the only 6-inch Spider-Man figure we got, and I'm glad, I'm glad I have it. So that's pretty cool. Let's go over his articulation. So the head looks up all the way. He looks down pretty much all the way. Just like that other Spider-Man, he rotates here in the head, but then his neck also rotates. If you grab that, you can see how the neck rotates. That allows you, like, if you can tilt that part to the side and you tilt this forward, you can have him, like, his head tilted to one side, which that's pretty cool. Line that back up, put that there. He's got these very good butterfly joints, very good on both sides. It's pretty good there. He has these, I guess that's like an armpit joint where the arm moves like that. The arms also independently move all the way up. They move, this rotates here on the upper arm. They rotate all the way around too. It's kind of hard to rotate them without moving the rest of these joints here, but I mean, having that kind of simulates having a ball joint, which that's pretty cool. Double bend in the knee or elbow, rotation here at the start of his glove, a hinge in the wrist, and you can move each finger individually. The only thing is, like when you do a fist, it looks like a normal fist, but when you try to do the web shooting hand, come on. when you do the web shooting hand, it looks a little funky, you know. It looks his fingers are too bent rather than being, you know, kind of straight for the web shooting thing. He has the mid torso crunch, which goes back really good, goes far pretty good. The only problem is, you know, having that joint broken, which, you know, that sucks. If you had that, you could move this guy, like, kind of like that. Like, it's hard to show, but you could move it, like, the ball joint a lot like that. Which, yeah, well, I mean, that's okay. The legs rotate all the way around here, or the waist. The legs kick up all the way. They don't really go back much. And, of course, he can do the splits. There's rotation here in the upper leg, double bend in the knee, rotation here at the start of the boot. The foot goes forward and back, the toe bends up, bends down a bit. The only thing is he doesn't have ankle pivots, which, yeah, well, who cares, really? I feel like with some figures, you kind of have to, like, if they don't have all the opposability, it's kind of like, yeah, well, whatever, you know? But, there he is. Yep, standing up straight there. And there he is. So, let me know what you think about this figure in the comments. If you like the video, you know, leave a like. If you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe. I'll also put a link in the description to a playlist with all my figure reviews. So if you want to see some other Trilogy figure reviews or other, like, you know, Spider-Man Classics, Toy Biz figures, which is mainly what I have, you know, check out that playlist and you'll be able to see, like, all of my reviews. There's, like, about 80 plus videos about, like, all my reviews and stuff. And so, yeah, so that's going to be all for this video. I will see you guys in the next review.